We haven't lost anything. No, really, we haven't lost anything. Look at your accounts. Look at your account statements. Check the balances and check the account history, the transactions. And you'll see that we haven't lost anything. Now, how can I say that, right? Because we are still in the midst of a market downturn, right? And the S&P 500 to date, since the end of last year where it peaked, is tiptoed around the 25% down mark a couple times. It kind of waded into it a couple times and has gone back up, and we're currently on our way back up as we record this. And we don't know if the worst is behind us yet, or if it's still going to go down again, or maybe it's just going to go nothing but up from here. We obviously don't know where it's going, or if the worst really is behind us or not. But we do know that we're still currently in a down market, right? We're still down from the all-time high. And yet again, I say with gusto, we haven't lost anything. If we're doing it right, if we're investing correctly, if we have a plan and we're following that plan, then we haven't lost anything, right? Because in the end, the values of 500 of the biggest and best companies in the world is down, right? The values have declined, 25%, 20%, 17%, wherever we're at. Those values have declined, yes. But, and the only way that those have declined is they've declined as measured by what people are willing to pay for them. So what people are willing to pay for an ownership share in these best businesses in the world, yes, that has declined. But the only way to turn this temporary decline into a permanent loss is to sell while the value has declined, right? Because we know that if we leave it alone, that those values will increase. We own some of the best businesses in the world, and when they make money, we make money. And when their value temporarily declines, so does our net worth. But that doesn't mean we've lost anything. Our values have temporarily declined, but if we leave it alone and we just let it do its work, we know that eventually, inevitably, it will return to its permanent ascent. And the only people who lose are those people who, in an attempt to avoid any further loss, cement that 20% loss by selling now only to miss out on the next 100% gain. That is the only way you lose money. And we've talked about this before, right? And if you've listened to us for a long time, you've heard me talk about this a bunch, but I think language matters. And the way we talk about things matters, and the way that we articulate concepts influence the way that we think about them. Right? The language we use influences what we believe about those concepts. So even though we, as prudent, wise investors, know that if we're long-term oriented and goal-focused investors, we know that we haven't lost anything, that our values are temporarily declining, they will resume. We need to catch ourselves when we're saying that we've lost money. Right? Because when we use those languages, it influences the way that we actually see that. And so there's a whole bunch of phrases in finance that are like this, right? They're just poorly worded financial phrases. So let's take a few more examples of how language matters and influences the way that we think about things. Take some of these phrases, right? Like investing is risky. Investing is risky. Well, that language that we use, of that especially that word risk, it's risky. What does that mean? Risky how? Risky like gambling? Risky like Russian roulette? Like, what do we mean by risky? And that word can mean different things to different people, and to some people it means risky as in they should never attempt it, never be engaged in it. Like, don't do it, I'm risk averse, I don't want to do that. I only want to be invested in good businesses, I don't want to be invested in anything risky. And for other people, it means completely different things. And so to use that word like, investing is risky, investing in the stock market is risky, any of those types of things, we can mean different things to different people. And we talked about that a lot on episode 13, way back when, episode 13 on What About the Risk. If you haven't listened to that, you can go back and find that. And for any of this, I'll reference a bunch of episodes that we've talked about in the past. And for any episode of this show, you can go to retirementorship.com/the episode number. So for that one, if you haven't heard the one on risk, you can go to retirementorship.com/13. It was the 13th episode, and you can find that one. Or here's another phrase, right? I'm investing in Bitcoin. No, you're not. You're speculating on a newfound financial product, right? But we cannot use the word invest to both mean that we are buying ownership shares in the best businesses in the world that have a proven track record of generating massive wealth for those who can stick to an investment plan, right? And we can't use that same word invest to also mean then that I have purchased an infantile and unproven chain of computer code that I'm hoping eventually someone will come along and be willing to pay me more for it than I paid for it myself. Right? Those two words, that word invest, cannot and should not be used for both of those things because it confuses the word invest. And what do we mean by investing? We have a proven track record of wealth building on one side and a totally unproven infantile system on the other side. Right? And again, we talked about these things. We talked about the difference between investing and speculating in episode 42. And you can go retirementmentorship.com/42 if you didn't hear that one. Or we talked about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in episodes 53 and 54, I think. And so you can go find those ones. But again, if you're saying I'm investing in Bitcoin, that can be just as confusing to people when they hear I'm investing in Bitcoin or I'm investing in the S&P 500. Poorly worded financial phrases. Also, any reference to the stock market, right? Anytime we say, "Oh, the stock market," I'm invested in the stock market, or the stock market is going up, or the stock market is going down. The stock market is just nebulous entity that can mean a whole host of different things to different people. Right? We do not understand it unless it's easy to fear it, and the language we use around it can exacerbate this problem. We do not invest in the stock market. Nobody does. You cannot buy the stock market. Instead, we buy ownership shares of the best businesses in the world. We are owners of the best businesses in the world. When they make money, we make money. When their values temporarily decline, so do ours. And that's okay because we know that in general, over the long term, that their ascent, their wealth building potential is permanent. And when their values advance, so do we. And we know that it's much easier to understand, right? It's easier to understand investing in 500 or 2,500 of the best businesses in the world than it is this nebulous stock market. So language matters, and it's why we, for instance, here use as much as possible. We talk about we try never to say the stock market or you should invest in the stock market or the stock market is a great long-term investment. Instead, we always try to use the words equities to kind of connote that ownership part of it or the best businesses in the world because the language we use matters. All right, so we haven't lost anything. We long-term, goal-focused investors know not to get sidetracked by the temporary dips in value. Right? We know that this is all part of the plan. That all of this, the dips in value, the temporary declines, is all part of the plan. It's part of plan A, right? It's not plan B, it's part of plan A, knowing that this will happen, and we've accounted for that in plan A. And so when you hear a friend or a family member talk about, "Oh, I've lost so much money in the market," or "Oh, I've lost so much money in my 401k," just smile and shake your head and maybe put them on to this episode, which then they can go back and hear all the other times that we've talked about this and give them, you may be the one that will inspire hope and in their long-term outcome and their retirement again, just by changing the way that we talk and think about these things. But catch yourself. Right? Catch yourself too, because again, even we who are goal focused can find ourselves using these words. Even though we know better, we can still find ourselves being susceptible to our lizard brain telling us that we've lost things. And so when you open a quarterly account statement, when you see something and you say, and you hear that internal voice saying, "I've lost 20%," or "I've lost $180,000," and you hear that voice in your head, catch yourself. And when that happens, just smile and shake your head and say, "No, I haven't actually lost anything. That's not true." Because I checked my transactions, right? That's what we talked about at the beginning. Check your transactions. Because unless you sold when that value is down, you haven't lost anything. It's not just about checking your balances, it's about checking your transactions as well. And if you don't see any sells in there, if you've seen that you didn't succumb to that temptation, that you didn't sell out when the value is down, then you haven't lost anything. So when you catch yourself hearing your internal brain telling you that you've lost money, smile, shake your head and say, "No, I haven't. I may, the value of all these great companies I've invested in may have declined by 80 grand, but I know that those will come back. And as long as I hold the course, I haven't lost anything. Those values will come back. This too shall pass. I haven't lost anything. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy that, you would love being a part of our free membership community. It's called Retire Membership, and you can sign up today completely for free. When you do that, you get a host of bonus and exclusive content that we don't give out anywhere else. For example, you can buy my book, 3D Retirement Income, on Amazon, but if you become a Retire member, we will send you one for free or give you the audiobook and ebook just for signing up. You also get additional bonus content, exclusive content, including Client Corner insights from some of the best minds in behavioral investing, workbooks to go along with our workshops to help you get the most out of it, and more ongoing bonus and exclusive content. Some of this you can't get anywhere else, and so we would love for you to join our community. You can join now at retiremembership.com. Otherwise, there's a link in the description of this video where you can sign up. All we want to do is continue to give you the best information out there so that you can retire successfully and stay successfully retired. So you can go in there, do that on our website. There's also a longer form podcast. I think it's episode 80 that will help explain what it is and what we're trying to do with Retire Membership. But join now for free. Get this and much more exclusive content by joining us today. We look forward to seeing you there, and thanks for watching. Cheers.